Mo, thank you so much for being here on the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So, I was doing some research naturally on you and your background and everything prior to today's episode. And I found out that you had this whole kind of personal development, personal growth journey prior to starting the Happiness Planner that probably was somewhat of a catalyst, right, in terms of doing what you did. So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I've been passionate about personal development since I was a little girl because my father is really into it. He was like he grew up poor and then he had to learn how to master his mind in order to got to where he is or where he's been in life. So he had to study how his subconscious mind works, and he passed it on to me since when I was little. So like started reading like self-help books since when I was little. And when I went to school, I participated in school comms and had to go through, self-doubt and self-belief and such things. And my dad always told me, how to get over it. And when I was a child and I had arguments with my mom or something, my dad would teach me how to change the way I look at things so that I can change the way I feel. Yeah.
Wow. So, were there any kind of catalyst, I don't know, maybe certain things he said to you or certain moments that you can remember as being a really pivotal point in, I don't know, maybe your mindset or the way that you view the world?
Yeah, I would say, when I was a teenager, I and my mom argued a lot because we're really different. Like I'm pretty, I would say liberal, like modern, more Western minded, and my mom is like really strict tiger mother, and had a lot of rules for me, and so we clashed a lot, and I always went to my father, for advice, and he said one things to me that like has been stuck in my mind since, and he said, well, your mom has been this way for 40 years now. It's probably really hard for her to change or for her to look at things from a different point of view, but you're still very young. You're only like 12, 13. I instead of being really frustrated about this, I want you to learn to see this as an opportunity to change the way you look at things, and to see this little obstacles in life as something that is training you to be resilient and learn to be positive, because when you get older and become an adult, there are going to be so many moments in life where and things that you have to go through, and if you start practicing it now, like as a kid, when you're an adult it will be easier.
And is it easier?
Yeah.
Is it? It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I mean, it's like a muscle, So like, if you have been like, let's say, lifting weights in when you're a teenager, when you're an adult, you've already built muscles, right? So it's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
So you have kind of this, let's say, background in terms of being around personal development, exploring it for yourself as well. What led to the happiness planner? Because I mean, it could have been, you could have used that knowledge to, I don't know, go into coaching or therapy yourself or to create any kind of other business, right, in that industry. So what led you to the idea of like journals, etc.?
I would say, since when I was a kid, again, I've always loved stationery. Like I would spend hours at the stationery store, and I would collect like pretty pens and papers, and I would just buy cute notebooks, and so that's one. And I've always loved like graphic design. It started from drawing and it went onto like Photoshop and stuff. And besides, motivational stuff, I would say, yeah, just like all of the things together, but I didn't really exactly know how I would turn what I was passionate about into a business. But when I was in Australia and it was at the end of my visa and I was trying to get a job, and I had like 6 months left, so it was kind of hard to get a job, like, because the company's like, oh, well, your visa's running out. So I started blogging again, and at the time I was trying to psych myself up to be an entrepreneur. But like when you're at the point where you're trying to stop looking for a job and try to start your own business, it's kind of hard because on one hand you're like, I need money, like I want to keep looking for a job, but then on the other hand it's like, I actually want to start my own thing. Like, how do I balance? So at the time I was trying to read a lot of books to try to change the way I look at time, look at money, and just motivate myself really. And I started, basically, when I was reading books and I came across something that I really liked, I would put it on my blog. It was just for myself. Somehow the blog resonated with a lot of people, and the blog started getting a lot of followers. And later on, it became a place where I would write my thoughts and like my reflection, the lessons that I've learned. And the blog kind of just grew and grew, like to a point where I started receiving messages from the people that follow the blog, like, oh, every day I wake up and I just look forward to reading your blog. It keeps me going. And I remember, like, I started crying, and I was like, okay, I think this is my purpose in life. Like, it makes me feel so fulfilled to do this. But I still didn't know how I would make money from it.
Yeah.
So I decided to ask people, like, if I could write about one thing that makes your day, what should I write about? And surprisingly, a lot of people replied. And the majority of people said they want to learn more about how they could be more positive and happier. Like, they want to learn more. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because there's so many books about happiness and positive thinking, but people still said that they want something that helps them with this. So I thought, oh, like sometimes you read books and then you get motivated, but then after you finish the book, like, you forget, like, you don't practice what you've learned from the book and you've lost motivation. So I kind of realized that, like, okay, I think people need a tool that helps reinforcing, like, what they've just learned, and whether they want to learn to change the perspective from negative to positive. It's something that they need to practice over and over and over until the new way of looking at things become the default. Mm-hmm. So I came up with the idea for the happiness planner. Yeah.
So was the main reason of pursuing, let's say, kind of happiness in particular because of the responses you got? Or was it something that you were also, I don't know, interested in yourself?
I would say initially I was more focused on entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when people said that they wanted to learn more about happiness and positive thinking, I thought, okay, this is something that people need help with more than entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I kind of started shifting my focus.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So something that my grandma used to tell me, or not used to tell me, but used to just say as like a passing comment all the time, she said, happiness is either something you have or you don't. And at first, I mean, I was younger, I didn't know what she meant. And then after I thought about it, and I was like, no, I don't agree at all, because I think that you can kind of create your happiness. But I also then ended up studying a lot of like personality psychology, which I think you did as well, right?
Yeah.
And I did also read a lot about how there are very innate personality traits that link to baseline positive or negative emotion. So what's your view on that? I mean, I know that's a bit challenging because obviously your whole business is based on helping people reach happiness, but do you feel like there's something innate within it, or is it really something we develop ourselves?
I think both.
Yeah.
I think, like, innately people were all born differently. I were all born different. Some people might be more sensitive than the other. Like the neurons and all that. So that affects how one person is. If someone is born a lot more positive than the next person, little things affect them more. So they might take a lot longer to get over hurt feelings, right, than someone who's not as sensitive. So I think that's innate, but also you can learn, from your environment, like, your parents' energy and how they feel also affect you as a baby, like literally as a baby. And if your mom is positive, like, very likely you're going to be more positive, but if your mom's negative, you could be affected from that too. So I think it's both.
Yeah. So then what, if we were to put aside the part that's like genetic, innate, right? If we're looking at how our environment, so you mentioned obviously surroundings, family, what are other things that impact our happiness or make us happier or less happy?
Also, I think societal values.
Yeah.
The culture. Like, for example, I do like I lived in Paris during COVID, and I love French culture, like how people just really like enjoy life. Like, you just go to the park, the park's beautiful, and you just enjoy it. Or let's say, like, Thai people are really like big foodies. Like, good food makes you happy. French people is the same. Some cultures more materialistic than the other, or so I think societal values really affect how you feel as well about happiness. And yeah.
And so what about in terms of, like, I don't know, modalities or habits? Are there certain things that impact our happiness as well?
Yeah, I think with habits, for example, like, I think you just need to learn what works for you, like, and for example, you need to learn to manage your emotions, right? So if you know that, okay, when you're in a bad mood, or when you're stressed, these certain habits can make you feel better.
Yeah.
Then just make it a habit to keep doing those things, and until it, and then that's how you learn to regulate your own emotions and find your happiness, I would say.
True.
Yeah.
Actually, that's very true. When I was reading a little bit about your background as well within, personal development and whatnot, you had mentioned self-awareness a lot, and I feel like that is just the key to a certain extent. Because if you don't have that self-awareness of what you need, I think a lot of us underestimate how much kind of social and community and people actually impact our baseline happiness a lot. Even those that say they're introverted or whatnot, like we're social beings and we need to be around people.
Yeah.
And it can be so underestimated as well.
Yeah, no, I agree.
As well as like nature. There's certain simple things that we don't necessarily tie. We think like, oh, I'm feeling low or I'm in a bad mood, without really asking, I mean, did you talk to somebody today? Did you like step outdoors or did you just sit in front of your computer all day? Because it impacts us a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and it's just all about self-awareness, just knowing what works for you and just keep doing what's healthy and works for you, right? Yeah.
So when it comes to self-awareness, obviously, one tool is through journaling, right, which is what you facilitate with the happiness planner. In what way is it different, better, worse? I don't know. Like, in what way does that differentiate from, for example, like talk therapy or even speaking to a friend, right? So writing versus speaking, in what way is that different? Or even just thinking, right? Because we can reflect in our minds, but in what way is actually the act of writing make it a different thing, have different benefit?
Well, I do think that people are different. Some people prefer to write or text, and some people prefer to speak or video call. Like we can, like some of our friends like to call, and some people just like to text, right? So I think everyone processes their emotions and thoughts differently. So what works for one person might not work for the other. But I do think that journaling, it's also similar to talking. Like first of all, it's a release. So when you get your thoughts and your emotions out, whether that's like verbally or by writing, you feel better.
Yeah.
And then secondly, when you do that, you actually kind of see your thoughts on paper again or on the computer, and it can give you like a new perspective on, oh, that's what I think, that's what I've done, and maybe you can learn to manage that better and understand yourself better, just through the process of looking at your thoughts, emotions, and actions again.
Yeah, completely. I couldn't agree more. I think that when you're journaling, when you're writing it down, as compared to thought, where you can almost like not finish a sentence in a way, right? You can be thinking about something, be like, oh, I feel a bit upset, and then just kind of distract yourself. If you're writing something, you're not just going to stop mid-sentence. You kind of have to find the words. And the second, I think, you put words to it, you're less attached to what it is that you're feeling.
Yeah.
Right? And it tends to create a bit of distance between yourself and what you're feeling as well. That's super interesting. So I was actually using your gratitude journal for a long time, and then I finished it. But I actually thought it was... So I've always used journaling as when I'm going through a difficult time, it helps me put my thoughts together. But then using the gratitude journal, it was almost as though you don't have to wait until shit hits the fan to do that. You can almost do it as a practice to avoid that, so that you are constantly checking in with yourself. And that kind of forced gratitude in a way, right? Because you are forcing yourself to shift your mind to what it is that you're grateful for, actually had a much bigger impact than I thought it would.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really interesting. Which of your journals is the most popular?
I would say gratitude.
Really?
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite question that you remember from the journal?
There were a lot that I had never really thought about fully. Like I'd never answered before. Naturally, because you have a full journal of it, so you need kind of fresh new questions. But the ones that I really liked were the ones around, what was it? It was something around like where you were a year ago compared to where you are today. And even then, like, I think there was one around what would your past self be proud of for where you are today, or something along those lines. Those I always think are really powerful because I think I'm somebody who's very forward thinking and I'm always thinking about the next step, and I very rarely kind of stop, turn around and realize kind of maybe how far I've come. So I find that those kind of questions really help put things into perspective.
Yeah.
What about you? What's the favorite item that you created?
The favorite item. I would say like the last set. So like the first set was released many years ago, and they were not as deep as like the latest like set. So I would say and to be honest, like I would say that each journals have been developed following my own, not transformation, but like you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
like kind of my own learning and like emotional and mental transformation in a way. So I would say the last set where there are like deeper journals like self-esteem journal or self-acceptance, which I think like self-acceptance is like huge, you know, and it's a bit like we have to go from the more surface level stuff like gratitude and law of attraction or self-awareness, and then going a bit deeper and deeper, like different layers, and then at the core is like self-acceptance.
True.
Yeah, so I really enjoy creating it, yeah, because it's so deep, and I'm like, this is gonna be so triggering, but you know, if they've gone through all these other journals and they get to self-acceptance, I think they've already like okay with that.
Yeah, they're ready for it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because in a way, you know, we always think about like, oh, we have to do the work and you should work on your self-acceptance and your self-love on whatever, but it's kind of, it feels a bit like, how do you actually do that? Like, I'm just going to sit down and do it. You know what I mean? What does that actually mean? Whereas I think that what you provide with the happiness planner and the journals that you have is like a very tangible way to actually do it. And in a way that's very daily, right? Every single day. Is there a benefit to doing it every day versus, for example, what I was saying, which is like, I'm struggling with something, therefore I journal. What's the difference with doing it more sporadically versus doing it on a daily basis?
I personally don't even do it on a daily basis,
Yeah.
first of all. I think it's good to even just have it by your bed and like, you know, like once a week, like when you feel like relaxing, you just pick it up and like do it. Or if you're really going through like certain issues in your life, like, you know, sometimes something happens to trigger you, then do more study on that, you know, like if someone in your family says something and you feel something about it, maybe look into why you're still feeling that way as an adult, and then learn to how do you say, untangle that knot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that I learned from going back to the topic of happiness, something I had learned from working with a therapist a while ago was very much the benefit of just shifting your mind to kind of happier thoughts, which feels a bit, or to me at least, felt a bit like shoving the shit under the rug. But actually it's not. It's like very much that your brain will naturally focus on whatever it is that you're being challenged with at the moment. And there's benefit in kind of creating a space where you do force your mind to look at the positive. What's your view on that? Because there's kind of this like, I feel like there's kind of this debate around like toxic positivity and you shouldn't force yourself to be positive. You know what I mean? I feel like there's kind of this debate. What's your view on that whole topic?
Yeah, I think like, yeah, the concept of like positive thinking for me is not like all bubbly. It's a little bit more like resilient, or you know, when you're going through a struggle or something stressful, instead of dwelling on the negative emotions, sort of shift the focus to, let's say, you know, the lessons that you're learning from this, or the growth that you're developing by going through this challenge. And that already makes you feel better. It's just more like a positive spin, but not, I would say it's not too overly positive.
Yeah. So you're not downplaying the challenges that you have, but you're kind of seeing them in a different light.
Yeah, like just seeing it as like you're developing your character. Yeah.
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 So you said that you don't necessarily use it every day, but that you kind of do it as and when, have it something that's by your side. So just to give kind of a brief, because we didn't necessarily brief what is the Happiness Planner, but it's a brand that does a combination of journals and planners focused on mental health. Is that kind of how you describe it?
Yeah, I would say we focus on personal development.
Yeah.
Yeah, like wellness, because sometimes I feel like mental health has slightly negative connotation.
Yeah.
So I would like to say like we focus more on personal development and wellness and well-being. Yeah.
How has because how long have you been in business now?
Since 2015.
Wow.
So long.
A while.
Yeah.
And how has I mean, the industry must have changed so much since you launched.
Yeah. I feel like we were one of the first brands to launch. Sort of like, I think back in the day, planners were just planners that focused on productivity and goal setting. And we were one of the first that really started infusing like psychological techniques into everyday planners, and it become more like a wellness tool and not just productivity. And I think in a way we really changed the concept of like helping people focus more on whether the goals that they're trying to achieve make them happy, or if they're just doing it because they're just chasing something that might not make them feel fulfilled in the end. So I think that's something that we really sort of influence and change in the world. And now there's so many brands that have popped up, sort of got inspired by our creation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, do you feel like we're at the peak of the kind of personal development industry, or do you think that there's much more to come?
I think there's much more to come.
Yeah? What does the future of the industry look like? What's more to come?
I would say we're kind of like at the end of just the manual stuff.
Okay.
I think AI is gonna push it to the next level.
And so what would that look like?
Just sort of everything, like just from, all the tools that we use. Just even for myself, sometimes I talk to AI and I feel great. And it helps, and it gives me different perspectives on things. And I think that's just the beginning, like AI is going to help us with how we manage our emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in like a really good way. And also because it can consume so much information, like more than a human, and I feel like humans are biased, and robots can be biased too based on the information, but I think it can give you like a lot of different perspectives. So it's a really exciting time to see, how this is gonna change the world in a way.
Yeah, because you guys, so have I understood correctly that you started as physical print, right, planners, then you moved to digital, and now you also have an app, right? How do you see, because I feel like once again there's kind of this debate between there's something about being with a pen and not being on tech, right? Versus, well, an app is more convenient and you're more likely to do it, so there's extra benefit in that. Where do you see the kind of benefit and drawback of the different mediums?
Well, I think pens and paper is still going to be there. There's still people who just want like digital detox, and it's going to be there. It's there. Like people want something tangible. I think digitally, I feel like in terms of education as well, it's gonna change. Sort of like I'm just looking at like the little children that are growing up these days. Like, I mean, even now university students use iPad for note taking, right? And the little kids will grow up with. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I think it's just gonna be very interesting in how. Sorry, I'm not sure how to answer this.
Yeah. No worries. So, do you feel like the benefit is the same, whether you're doing your journaling on a notebook versus your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it really depends on people. Because, like, even though I love writing, I type faster, so I like to type. And it's just going to be depending on, like, how you grow up. Kids these days are going to be better at using that computer. So it depends on how you use the tools that you're given.
So AI, I mean, what would that look like? Is it like your AI journal that you tell them what emotion you're feeling and they create journal prompts for you that are customized on your personal experience? Like, is that what it looks like, or is it?
I'm still trying to figure it out. But I mean, our app right now is quite manual, but I'm just thinking like like in the future we will be able to tailor the content to suit people better, and not just based on someone's needs at the time, but also their personality traits, their emotions, their it can take up all these informations, and tailor like the programs or the content to be more helpful for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can imagine that, I mean, I don't know if you'd be able to just detect a person's personality, or do you have to do, I don't know, like maybe a test at the beginning when they're entering the app, and then from that everything would be curated for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think so. It's crazy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then that would have like the additional benefit of even being more relevant and all these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you obviously, I mean, your business has been extremely successful, right? I mean, it's been mentioned in things like Elle and the New York Times and Women's Health and whatnot, right? Acclaimed all over the world. So it's been wildly successful. Is this what you were expecting when you started? Or is it like a surprise? Or was it the vision that you had?
In the beginning when I started, I was just hoping that it would make me enough money for me to travel the world. Yeah. And it sort of exceeded my expectation, like within the first year.
Okay, so you had a vision, you were hoping it would provide something, but I guess you weren't expecting it to be the size that it is today.
Yeah, I think I didn't think that far. When I launched the first version, I was just thinking, okay, I hope this tool, because it was quite nerve-wracking. It's like, what if it doesn't make people happier? So my thought was more consumed by like, you know, is this tool that I'm creating and putting out in the world gonna make people happier, or am I gonna get sued for it? And then the first group of customers, obviously, who were my blog followers, they, after using it for 100 days, it's that the first version, they came back and they said, oh my God, your tool makes me a lot happier. Like, it changed my life. And even people who've been on meds said like, okay, this tool really helps me change the way I look at things, like on a daily
Wow.
basis. And so when I was like, okay, it worked. It works. Now can I make it better? How can I make it better? And then after that, I'm like, how can I keep producing new products? Because what's next? And then so I started thinking more about like, okay, what makes people happy? Everyone's different. People might want to work on different things. So happiness for different people might be different based on what they're looking for right now or what they're lacking in life. And one person might need to work on that confidence. Another person might need to work on finding that purpose or whatever. And that's how I started thinking about different products. And yeah.
So, what were some of the biggest? Because I always find whenever we hear these kind of entrepreneurial founder journeys, it always sounds very inspiring. And there's always this kind of catalyst story, and then we just say, and then it just happened, and now we have this glorious business. But I feel like there's so many hiccups in the road, right, that we don't necessarily obviously dissect. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced to kind of bring it, bring the reality to it, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, like when I got started, I kind of had issues with finding a supplier and stuff like that. But I would say the biggest challenge was during COVID. Obviously, that for a lot of people, and I was trying to grow the business maybe too quickly before COVID, and I didn't think the roughly enough, and so when but then I also trying to expand too quickly. I did the products in different European languages like German, French, Italian, and also didn't think carefully enough about like that the product should be undated. So in the end, like during those times, I was stuck with a bunch of inventory, and so when COVID happened, like we just had too much stock and had to, a lot of expense that came with the warehouse and storage in different countries, and then Brexit as well. So we couldn't continue shipping products from the UK to the EU, and that costed a lot of like issues with, I don't, yeah, all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
So I had to like, I would say like during COVID and like even post COVID, I had to spend a lot of time and energy reducing the expenses and downsizing so that things are more manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that come with doubt? Like, did that come with struggle, or even, we spoke about the whole personal development thing. Is that where that personal development self-awareness was really kind of necessary?
Yeah, I would say if I had to if I have to start over, I would be more careful with numbers. I would just doing things based on my intuition too much. um, yeah, but I had I wouldn't say doubt, but more like how can I continue to keep going? But I would say the doubt maybe they come from more like, let's say my father, who was like, can you keep the business going? Like, do you want to close it? And I thought about it, I thought, would it be easier to close it? And then I'm like, I don't know, how am I gonna close it? Like, what am I gonna do if I close it? And then there were a point where I was like, we almost got acquired. I'm like, okay, if should I sell the business? What am I gonna do next? And I think after all these considerations, I'm just like, I don't know. This is like my lifelong work.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I would do. I just have to do something around this. But I would say like one thing about me is I don't give up. And I don't know if it's good or bad.
I mean, it's always both, right? There's always the positive and negative in it.
Yeah, like, maybe someone else would have given up, during those tough times. But for me, I just don't know how to give up. I might bother my dad a little bit. And, but I just don't know how to give up. Like, I just feel like you're a failure only when you give up. But I just feel like if I keep pushing, I will always get through it. And, my coach that I talk to, like, she's always like, you're so much better than last year. You're not having the problems that you were facing 2 years ago. So you should be proud of yourself. And then when she said that, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, there were so many times when I thought I wouldn't get through this year because we were having like cash flow issue or whatever. And then I got through it. So now when I face something stressful or challenging again, I'm like, I've been there. I always get through this. It just, and a big part of it is managing your own stress, because you have to realize that when you're stressed, it's not making you do better work.
True.
So you just have to let go of that feeling of stress and just focus on getting whatever that needs to be done. Don't dwell on that negative feeling, and you will get through it. Yeah.
So how do you deal with your stress?
Firstly, like exercise. Exercising really helps. Eating well, eating like nutrient-rich food, fresh juice actually really helps. I played the piano, and that really helps also. Just the little things, and find, I would say, like, create your own routine, like a routine that would help you regulate your emotions and put you in like a productive, how do you say, productive mode.
So you mentioned how, maybe mistakes or challenges you were facing a few years back, you're not facing necessarily anymore, right? Because we grow also as a business owner and whatnot. What are some of the things that you did a few years ago that you would never do today, for example?
It's business related, right?
Yeah, either.
It's very simple things, but like I would get rid of old stock at the end of every year and not let it compound and be like, after 8 years, I have all this mountain of old stock, and then I had to pay to get rid of it. That was a big mistake. I would say that. I mean, nothing else I regret. I was traveling the world. Maybe I should have focused even more, but it was my childhood dreams to travel the world, so I was partially focusing on that too.
So you traveled the world while having the business?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I feel like, if I really, really wanted to focus on scaling the business, I should have tried to stay in one place and raise money and try to scale it. But at the time, I wasn't ready. I just wanted to see the world. I'm like, I grew up in Thailand with a really strict mother. I really wanted to see the world, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just juggling those choices, right? Of we always have like a conflicting values to a certain extent. It's like, yeah, you value your success of your business and growing it and whatnot, but life is life, and you have other interests, right? So you think that although that brought you a lot, it may be led to growing less fast within business.
Yeah, because when I look back now, I'm like, man, like the second and the third year of the business, we were growing so fast. And if at the time I was ready to scale it, I could have easily raised money from VC and like try to scale it. But I wasn't ready. I'm like,
Yeah.
I still want to try living here. I want to go there.
And so are you in like an investment round at the moment, or how do you deal with that presently?
So at the moment, I feel like I'm traveled out. Like
Yeah.
I've seen the world. And like, okay, I'm not, like I'm not really like, okay, I need to travel. Like I've got that out of the way. So now I'm really ready to focus. Like, yeah. So like now I'm thinking of like different ways to grow the business and getting investment and like growing the team and yeah.
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 So what's next for you guys?
Now that I have been back in Thailand, I've been presented with a couple of opportunities like expanding the brand to China, which I never thought. It was
Wow.
never in my mind, but somehow someone approached me and it's exciting. For me, it's like something I've never done before, going to China. I don't speak Mandarin, but I would love to learn, and now that I'm here, I don't have a family. Like, I mean, I'm not married, I don't have kids. So if I want to move to Shanghai and like take language lessons, I could do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like really exciting. And the other day when I had a meeting with this Chinese business partner, I found out that most of our competitors have fake products on Alibaba, but ours is not there. So now I
Wow.
salute, like I really respect our supplier because they really take good care of our products. Like, yeah, with everything, with all the IP stuff, like they never let it out. So I feel grateful for them. Yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like it's, some people would say, are you sure you're going to go to China? It's like scary. People are going to like copy you. In a way, even if they copy us, the first original version or the first year will be ours.
Yeah.
And if there are many copycats follow like that happen after, we're actually like a catalyst in that market, like spreading the concept at least. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least then you're the one doing it, right? You're the one taking that first step, because if you stay here, those copycats can happen anyways,
Yeah.
as you say, I mean, with your competitors, right?
Yeah. And I don't know. And now I'm just thinking like, okay, if I could make it successful in China, I want to sort of replicate the process and do it in other markets, which I think would do really well. Like I would love to enter Japan or the Arabic market, which is quite like the Arabic market has just been open, and I feel like there's a lot of. It's interesting to be like
Yeah.
a catalyst in those markets. I
Yeah,
think.
definitely.
Yeah, and also like now that I'm in Thailand, like a friend of mine is opening like a wellness and meditation space in Chiang Mai. So
Nice.
I've been talking to him, and I'm just thinking we're gonna be a brand partner because I know our customers would love
Yeah.
such space. And this guy, he has a grand vision for what he wants to do with holistic healing. So he's been traveling around Thailand talking to different healers, and he's got the investment to get something started. So I feel like, oh yeah, like I've always been passionate about essential oil as well, especially during COVID, and I thought I would love to launch something like around. I love Thai massages and like, like the inhale, the Yadom, Tiger Balm. I think the world needs to be introduced to these products and the
Yeah.
benefits. So maybe we could do something around that too.
So is that like a different venture you want to look into, or is that somehow linking it with the happiness planner?
I'm not sure, but it's sort of like the same space,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of like 360
Yeah.
and spreading this worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
like holistic healing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So linking back, I mean, I think that, personal development and business is so linked. It's like the same thing, right? I mean, one leads to the other. What are, let's say, the mindsets that have enabled you to reach where you are now? And what are some of maybe of the thoughts or mindsets that you've had that have maybe slowed you down or held you back at certain times?
The thought that has fueled me, I would say, self-belief. And I would thank my dad for that because since when I was a kid, like, when I had lesson, like let's say music lessons or sport lessons and participate in like school comms, and I had self-doubt, my dad would tell me like, if you want to be a winner, you don't even give your doubt a chance. Don't even think about it. Just push it away. You have to think that you're gonna win, and then you're gonna win. You have to get obsessed. And I noticed that like whenever I enter like a math competition or whatever, and I got obsessed with it, and I thought I was gonna win, I won.
Wow.
And then when I even had like a little bit of doubt, I didn't win. So it's something that I kind of like practiced, and it's kind of become a part of me now, that like I don't even think about self-doubt. And sometimes you talk to friends about your business ideas, and then they give you kind of like dispositions, or
They project their own doubt on you, right?
yeah. And in the past I used to get triggered or annoyed, and now I'm just like, it just from their own experience, just let it go, and like try to not think about what they say at all. I mean, take into consideration like the logical aspect of it,
Yeah.
but does not let it stop me, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for the other one,
Yeah, so any thoughts or
That has
mind
helped.
patterns that have actually maybe held you back or slowed you down?
I would just say I wasn't self-disciplined enough sometimes. Like I wanted to work whenever I want, or I didn't have a routine that would make me the most productive or successful person that
So
I
what
could
what
be.
would, what was like the belief behind that or the thought behind that, do you think?
I think I really prioritize how I feel.
Yeah?
It's like, I'm not going to push myself to work too hard to be burnt out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I don't get, let's say, if I don't get enough sleep, because I want to wake up early and work, and I work 10 hours a day, when my brain is like functioning at 60%, versus I sleep well and I only work 4 hours, I feel like, and my brain functions at 100%, I feel like those 4 hours are better.
Yeah. So is that something that's helped you or hindered you?
I don't know. But I would say like now I am ready to be more self-disciplined.
Okay.
I would say. So I would like still prioritize my sleep, but I'm going to work really hard.
Yeah.
But also because I feel like I've gotten all the fun stuff out of the way. Like I don't want to party anymore. I don't want to drink. I don't need to socialize as much. Yeah, traveling, like I feel like those things are out. So now I feel like I can just focus.
Yeah. I mean, there's different phases in life,
Yeah.
right? Where different things take
Yeah.
priority.
Yeah.
So what are some of kind of the key learnings that you've learned on your entire journey? If we were to think about, I don't know, maybe let's say one kind of wrapping up message that you want to pass on based on everything that you've learned, everything that you've done, one in the realm of business and one in the realm of personal growth, what would those messages be?
In terms of business, can you like narrow down the questions?
Yeah, so just if you were to think about everything that you've gone through, A to Z, from the beginning of your business journey to where you are now, if you were to think about one key takeaway that you would want to share to somebody who's maybe 10 steps behind you, what would that be?
Okay, I would say if you know that you're really passionate about something and you have a message to leave to the world, or it could be like a creation or whatever that you're really passionate about, I would say just don't give up. Because I've had friends who really wanted to start something and it got started and it started doing well, and then they freak out and then they just drop it and go back to their full-time job. And I was like, man, you could have continued going. But I think most people, people are not just scared of failing, but people are scared of success.
True, very true.
Yeah. So I feel like if you really do have, because not everybody has that, but if you do have that message or that strong passion for something, just do it and keep going. It's going to be tough at times, but I would say find your own tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Don't if you want to start your own business, don't surround yourself with people who keep reinforcing you that having a stable corporate job is better. Try to surround yourself with people with the mindset and the energy that align with where you want to be in life.
True. And surround yourself with people who you aspire to be to a certain extent, right? Because you can feed off that inspiration and energy.
Yeah.
And so then what would be one message in the realm of personal development? So if, for example, you were speaking with somebody who was just getting started on their personal development journey, maybe where you were even as a child when you were just getting started, what's something that you have learned that is so important to you that you would want them to know? It's like the first thing that would catalyze their personal growth journey.
It's pretty simple, but I think a lot of people neglect the just the importance of eating healthy and exercising.
Yeah.
And I don't really get sick, and I thank my dad for that, because since when I was little, we always have like wholesome food, like nutrient rich food, and I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
So I think if you can now try to change the eating habits, try to make sure that what you eat have lots of like vitamins and nutrients, it's going to make a huge difference to not just your inner body, but also like the outside, like the skin and like everything in your mood. And even exercising, I would say, a lot of us, when we're like teenagers, we want, like girls, we want to exercise to be like to have a hot slim body, whatever. But now that I go to the gym, I see all these 60, 70-year-old ladies in my Pilates class or even body pump, and they're so fit.
Yeah.
And this one lady, the other day, someone asked her age, and she was like, "Oh, I'm 77." And she's so fit. And when I look at them, I'm like, I'm going to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
like,
gonna be you.
Yeah, like 70, and I still go to the gym. I don't even think about going to the hospital or saving up for healthcare, because I'm so healthy. And now when I work out and lift weight, I just focus on building muscles and bones, because when you get older, you lose those things,
do.
so and those things can't be built overnight. So you have to like gradually build your muscles and your bones, and it's something that you can start like now.
True.
And make it a habit. Yeah.
And I always find that movement is such a great way to start a personal growth journey. So I mean, that's how I started. And for me, it was realizing, wait a second, I can do something. I can put effort and time into something, and there will be a direct change. It was almost like proving to myself the agency I have over my life, right? Because you can go to the gym and all of a sudden you can run longer. Or you lift weights and all of a sudden you're stronger, and you realize I can do something and have a direct impact on the outcome of my body and my health. And then you start to realize, wait a second, that's the same in every part of my life.
Yeah.
I can make direct change in my thought patterns, and that will have an impact on my relationships or whatever. So it kind of is the most, I think, tangible way to kind of prove to yourself the agency you have over your life and its outcomes.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I think it's just like realizing that everything can be trained.
Yeah.
Bit by bit. Even when I hang out with girlfriends sometimes and we talk about relationship stuff, it's like, let's say, it's typical
Girl chat.
yeah, girl chat problems, like giving men space, for example.
Yeah.
I have to like tell you, my girlfriend's like, yeah, it's hard the first time you try to give your man space when he's stressed.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it, and then it's easier and easier.
True.
And then it doesn't bother you anymore that you have to give someone space.
Yeah.
And then it makes your relationship better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very true. And it's the same with every part of life, right? And so one last question for you. If you were to think back, how old were you when you started your business?
9 years ago, so I'm 36 now. So 27.
If you were to think back to your 27-year-old self, just about to embark on the journey, first of all, if you were to time travel back, would you do it again?
Yeah.
You would. What would you, I'm just checking, because some people say, like, nah, if I could do it again, I probably wouldn't, because I didn't know what I was waiting for. But if you had to say one message to her, what would you say?
I would just say, I'm proud of you for taking a leap of faith in yourself. Yeah, it was a huge leap of faith. Because at the time it was, even though my dad was an entrepreneur and he always wanted me to have my own business, when push come to shove, it just like no one was around me.
Yeah.
Literally, like my mom was like, "Are you sure you're gonna sell these? You're gonna spend this much money printing these?" Even my dad was like, "Are you sure?" Like my ex-boyfriend, like everybody was like doubtful when you had to actually spend a lot of money into your business. But I would say, yeah, I'm proud of you, girl, for taking a leap of faith in yourself. And even though no one around you was so sure about if you're going to make it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the proof of having to have such a strong belief in yourself, right? When no one else does. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Mo, for everything. Just to kind of finish up, I mean, where can we find more about the Happiness Planner? Do you have any new launches coming up? Is there any way or any suggestions that you have for maybe somebody who's new to the brand? Where should they get started with what it is that you have?
Yeah, so you can find us at thehappinessplanner.com. So there are physical books and also a lot of downloads, like journals, worksheets, a lot of free stuff on the website. So you can download for free, get started. You can download the Happiness Planner app from the App Store and Google Play. It's a freemium, so it's like free, and some features will be locked after some time, but most of it's free. And Instagram, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a really nice day.